Alrighty guys, welcome back to another video here. So I wanted to take a look at a spot here. It's the single raise pot double paired board, where the board in this case is going to go 9-6 deuce, 9 deuce, and we have a 6. So the board's double paired, but we have sort of the bigger two pair with our 6. Wanted to see, what the frequencies are for calling, raising, kind of an interesting spot, I guess. This particular hand is from the 3000 hand challenge. I'm playing with my buddy Anthony, so he's the guy in the video here, Basalt 1-3, and he leads all 3 streets for a 75% size. So let's hit play here. We'll take a look at it. We're roughly 163 big blinds deep, I think. I opened to 2.4x to $4.80. And yeah, you can see Anthony leads. Like, that's a 75% size. I looked at some previous hands because he recorded his stuff. He likes to lead a lot of, draws. So like 7-8, 4-5, 3-5, pair and a flush draw type hands. Some weak top pairs. So 18 bucks, that's 75% pot again. But we have the stronger range, right? Single raise pot. So we still have, like, what do we do with our aces, our kings, our queens here? Like, Anthony doesn't have those hands because he obviously would have 3-bet them pre-flop. And then the board double pairs. And spoiler alert, he leads 75% pot one more time. And then I kind of take a while here. And I think in game, I'm pretty sure, like, hey, I can't call this 100% pure, and I can't fold it 100% pure. How often is my frequency for calling here, right? So I didn't know. I thought it was roughly, 50% of the time. What do I do, with my bluffs? How often do I raise? Do I raise just a 9? Do I raise pocket 6s, quad deuces? Like, you have to figure out all the hands you have, how much you raise, and then what you bluff with, too. All right, we got a lot of ace-high heroes here. So it's not a crazy, crazy spot, but, right, poker's a game of making the right decisions. If I can make more right decisions than my buddy, then hopefully I'll win more chips. So I'll pause the video there, and we'll dive in, take a look. We'll head over to Upswing first, look at the pre-flop ranges real quick, just so you can kind of see what we're working with, and we'll dive into Piosolver and see what's up. So let's do that now. Yeah, we'll go to the Upswing ranges, and I'll minimize that. There we go. I think I had it on his there first. So this is me, or us, I guess, on the button when we open. Pretty simple stuff. We're opening, roughly 85% of our hands. It says, 2.3 to 2.5x, pretty standard open size, button open, all stacks. Says it right here. So if we look at the 6-8 offsuit, yeah, we're just opening it pure. Doesn't really matter. So not much to talk about there. Let's go to the other side of the coin, out of position versus an open. I said we're 163 bigs, so it's kind of in between 200 and 150. We'll pick 150. It's closer to that. And I used the 2.4x size. So this is roughly, I don't know. Obviously, it's not perfectly what Anthony's doing, but it's a rough guide of, you're 3-betting all your good stuff, mixing in some suited 3-bets, suited wheel aces, folding the junk. So with his queen 9, again, it's pretty much just a pure call, 3% 3-bet. I even looked at it. If you look at it here too, like, what if we were, 200 big blinds deep, 9% 3-bet, 300 big blinds deep, 7% 3-bet. And I think if I open like to 3x, 10% 3-bet. So queen 9 is basically just a call. If you want to 3-bet it once in a blue moon, by all means, knock yourself out kind of thing. So, all right. So that was a quick, easy look at the pre-flop stuff. Let's dive into Piosolver. I'll do that now. All right. So I think I got to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to throw on one graphic here for you guys. You see that? Am I too big here? Right there. All right. We're going to zoom in. I want to show you the inputs so you can kind of see how it works when we're setting up the sim for a solve. I think it's roughly there. And I'm going to geek out here for a minute. I just learned, I have my little zoom in on Stream Deck. if I click the left mouse button, once you're fully zoomed in, it locks the screen in place, and I got a pointer, I can circle stuff. Makes it easier for explaining. So if we look at the board, 9-6 deuce, starting pot, roughly $9. I know it was like $9.55 or 65 cents or whatever, but you can't enter cents into the computer. It's just rounded to the nearest, I think, big line unit or dollar or whatever. Effective stacks, we're around $325 when we see a flop. Let's start with my sizes first, just so I can explain the graphic here. I'm like, do I cut off here? Do I got to sit over here somehow? Not in the middle of my webcam. Anyway, on this board, pretty easy for me. I just know I use 2/3 size on this board, 9-high board with a flush draw and some low connected straight draws, I think connected to the 6 there. So 67% size. My raise size, if he leads, I gave myself 67% or roughly 3.3x. Different poker sites use different things. If you just, use one of your pre-programmed buttons, it would be like, hey, that's a 67% size raise. That's kind of why they use that, which ends up being like 3.3x. So if Anthony bet $10, 3.3 times the size of his bet would be raised to $33 kind of thing. If we bet the flop, here's my turn sizes, which is what the graphic's all about. I have 4 turn sizes based on texture. So essentially I have 1 flop size and 1 turn size and then 2 sizes on the river. When I say the term 1 size, it's per texture, right? So the texture being, let's start with the 4 sizes, 58, 67, 100, and then overbet 150. 58 is when it's a flush. Doesn't matter if it's just a flush or flush and paired. You still use 58. If it's just paired, no flush, 67, 2-3 straights possible, 67, 1 straight possible overcard. That's when you start using the pot size bet. Brick overcard other than an ace-x. So like the king of hearts rolled off here, I'd probably go pot. 1 straight possible undercard. You use the 150, any ace 150, and then a brick undercard 150 as well. So those are my sizes. Effectively, it's 1 size, but per board texture. I know it looks like 4, but it's just based on the texture of the board. And then river, 2/3 pot, overbet, and then all-ins, kind of all 3 streets. So if we look at Anthony's size down here, I gave him his actual size use, a lead of 75% pot. And again, same kind of raise as me, roughly 3.3x. I know it's cut off here, but there is 4 sizes. I give him 33% or 1/3, 75% pot, which is the size that he uses, pot and 150, just so we can see, what is the preferred size, what would the solver do kind of thing. Some raises, same thing on the river. I gave him a block bet of 1/3, the size he used, 75, pot and 150, and then all ins across all 3 streets. So we'll take a look. Again, it's a pretty straightforward spot. We just call down, but I just wanted to see both sides of the coin. How often am I supposed to call? Are there better hands to call with? And then what are we raising for value? What are we bluffing with? So let's take a look. Let's head on over to the browser and I will get out of the way with my floating webcam. And I guess I got to turn off the graphic here. All right, and I got 163 bigs up top. Perfect. So, here, let's move them right there. So here's the funny part. I'm looking at this, and we gave him a lead input of 75% pot. The solver doesn't want to do it. Like, you can force a bet, force it to do it, but in general, it doesn't like this. So if you have a whole bunch of leads, the one thing to acknowledge, though, is it's going to kind of decimate your check raising range, right? Because if you check and you want to check raise, right? Well, you have to lead. How do you balance your leads versus your check raise, right? So the more you lead, the less you get to check raise. What's stronger? What's a better play? I mean, that's up to you to decide or study. But the solver does not like leading here at all. Maybe it does on other boards, but definitely not here. And one thing I'll point out is, I know you can see, where's my mouse? It says 77.8%. Not sure why it did that. It's like a rounding thing. I put it in as if we're playing $1, $2. Maybe if I just put 5, 10, or a straight 1,000, it would round better. Not that the 2-3% is going to make any difference for the studying purposes here, but anyway, let's go ahead and bet. And what do we do from our end of it? So we can see our 6-8 is just a pure call. Like if I drag it over and just look over here, Every combo of H6 is just, and what's ours? I think ours was diamonds and hearts here. Yeah, call 100% of the time versus 75% lead. So what I like to look at though too is we have roughly 14% in raises versus this lead. And the other thing too is we have the stronger range, right? We opened, Anthony called and then just led. So he doesn't have aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace, king, stuff like that because he 3-bets all those. So we have them because we opened. So what do we do with our aces and our kings? So it looks like aces and kings, right? The aces and the kings are just going to trap. We don't really need protection. We got a big overpair, so we just flat. But then you can see it kind of, as your pocket pair gets smaller, your raise frequency increases. So queen starts to raise, jacks raise a little bit more. Tens, like 80% of the time, it says, I guess it wants a little bit of protection in case he's leading with, you know, let's call it king, queen of spades. If he chose not to 3-bet it for whatever reason, well, now there's 2 overcards, right? So the tens want a little bit of protection. So I guess that's it. What I found really interesting is all 3 sets, the deuces, the sixes, and the nines. If we have pocket 2, 6s, or 9s, they raise pure 100% of the time. You'd think you would want to call with just pocket 9s because you got the board gridlocked. You've got top set. Like, what else can he have, right? That's strong. But I guess versus a lead, it likes to do it. I don't run sims versus leads very often. Top pairs. So like we've got our ace 9 and king 9. Obviously they like to raise it up. It doesn't matter, offsuit or suited. What else? How about our 7/8s? Our open-ended. So we like to raise a little bit of our draws, and then we're folding all the offsuit variety. But all of our spades we call. We raise a little bit here and there. So ace 6 a little bit, our best 6, and our best 6 over here. What about our deuces? Ace deuce, king deuce, a little bit of that too. This is cool here too. So like they kind of go to town with your 2-3x. So a lot of times, I guess versus a lead or check raise, bottom set, you're out of the way of the other 2. So then you can kind of go to town with your 2-3, your 2-4. Interesting stuff. Anyways, we flat call. Turn is the 9 of diamonds. So let's take a look at what Anthony is to do here. So overall, and if we zoom in, you guys can see the queen 9. Overall, it says check 27% of the time, and then the rest is bet. See if I can pull it off over here. You can see some of the combos here. I gave it 4 sizes. So the block bet, 33%. His size, 75. Then we just had 100% pot and the overbet. Just looking at this, it doesn't like the overbet very much, and it doesn't really care to block bet, but it seems to love the 100% pot, right? And if we go up top here, you can see the sizes as well. Yeah, so I'm guessing, yeah, overbet 3%, block bet a little bit, 75%, 7.8% of the time, and then pot. And I think it just makes it more polar, right? You either have it or you don't. So you want to bet pot is a good size and allows you to bluff a little bit more. The bigger you bet, you get to bluff a little bit more too. So, yeah, so I guess if he were to make an adjustment, it would be use pot instead of 75%. But, so what are his bluffs then? He just continues with like, well, those are all of his 9s, So some 10-8s. How many spades? Like if I look at it, all of his flushes. So how many trips does he have? So those are all of his trips. What about flushes? Where's his flush draw here? Flush draw. Betting a lot of flush draws. Yeah. What about 8-out straight draws? That'll be your 7/8s. 4-out straight draws. Yeah. So he's betting half the time still. Interesting stuff. All right. So let's say he bets. So what do we do with 6-8? Again, we don't do anything other than just click that call button. Pretty straightforward with our 8 of hearts, 6 of diamonds. We just call pure every 6 actually, right? Still facing two barrels of 75%. We call all of our sixes. And then we raise our best six. So ace six, right? Suited and offsuit. Ace six is getting in there for the raises. And our best nines, ace nine, king nine. What about ace king here? Yeah, see that ace king? So it says we raise, but it's this ace king over here. Sorry if the screen's bouncing around too much, but it looks like we raise the off-suited kind, and we don't want to get blown off our equity with the ace king suited on a paired board. And then the old 7-8 suited, open end straight flush, pretty much raising pure. So, all right, let's go to the river. So we call. And it is a deuce of diamonds. All right, so you can see the darker color now. This dark shade of brown, this is the biggest size we input, so the 150. So queen nine, yeah, it's just a slam dunk overbet is the size that they like. You should be using 150% pot. Does not like the 75% size. It says if you're going to do it, go super polar and overbet. So with his full houses, use the big size. Obviously the twos use the smaller size, right? That's kind of what it's saying a little bit. What is his pure bluffs? His nothing. It's going with a lot of queen highs. Jack 10. Jack 7. 10-5. So your 10 highs, jack highs, basically. Yeah. And then a whole bunch of your missed gutters, missed straights. Interesting stuff. All right, so he bets 75% pot. Here's the answer I've been looking for. I'm supposed to call. If you guys can see that, the average says call 35% of the time with 6-8 offsuit. So I was thinking it was roughly half the time, but it's a little bit less because he didn't use 2/3 or a half pot. He used like 3/4 on all three streets. So I guess that makes sense. I'll pop in the graphic here. Another one, which makes me happy. So you guys can see. If I zoom in, can you still see it? Yeah, there you go. So I rolled a deuce. My RNG. I rolled a 2 in that particular situation and clicked the call button. So again, it's not that terribly interesting a spot. I just called down, right? But I made every decision correct in this particular hand, which is the main thing. So I'll just have to remember it's closer to call 1/3 of the time versus the bigger size. And then half the time, I guess, if he was betting a bit smaller. Yeah, so I rolled a low number, clicked the call button. Here, let's get that graphic out of the way. Let's take a look, though. So we call, obviously, all of our nines. We raise some of them. We raise our boats. We raise 9-6. Right? Yeah, we raise them like half the time, almost all of the nines. The twos, we just call. We call every deuce pure. Quads, obviously, we raise. What I find interesting, though, is so we call our 6 here 35% of the time. But we have like so many ace-high heroes, right? Everyone knows that spot. The double-paired board, how many high cards are heroing? So we actually, yeah. Like ace 3 here calls 90% of the time on average. So that calls 75% of the time. Whereas our 6, we have a pair here. We only call 35%. But with ace high, we call more. We call more with ace high than we do with the 6. It's kind of interesting. And then we turn a bunch of our king highs into bluffs. That's very interesting. I guess it makes sense because you have to call the flop with king high, especially if you have a spade. Then you're going to call the turn. Now, because now it's like, hey, maybe he still has 7. He has 7-8s in there, 4-5, 3-5, right? 10-8. So you're beating all those hands, and those hands now have to bluff. And then on the river, you call your ace highs and turn those king highs that had to call down. We're getting the right price. You turn the king highs into bluffs. That's interesting. So like king highs as your bluffs. Nothing. Nothing is like it. Yeah. Very interesting. And what about, what's it called? Third pair? Oh, third pair would be a 3. I guess it's second pair? This is all of our 6s. Yeah. Boats. All right, guys. Well, I hope you like that. It wasn't anything crazy, but it's just studying. Good habits for me more than anything. I pick a hand, try and run it, see what's up, make sure I'm on point, making all the right decisions as I play these matches. Hopefully I'll get some more interesting ones down the road. Maybe some bluff spots, overbet spots. I don't know. But this is just one that stood out mid-game. I literally just had a notepad. I wrote it down. Hand number, whatever, 288 or whatever it was. And I wanted to take a look at it because I knew it was close. But it's a little bit less if he uses the bigger size for the call. All right. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video here.